Greetings, Commanders! Until now, the Western Europe and New Germany regions in Grit and Valor have remained shrouded in mystery, so today we're revealing what you can expect from each in terms of their maps, hazards, and of course the region bosses. We'll also dive into the designs and making of the maps that each region contains, so thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy. Let's start with the art style behind Western Europe. Each region's environment tells the story of an alternate history Europe, devastated by the Axis mech invasion. These themes explore how the Axis established a foothold there, and hint at the hazards players may face as they progress through the region. The first theme is evidence of the Axis takeover, which has decimated Western Europe. This is demonstrated by the flattened buildings and forcing civilians to live underground. Second, with the population hiding from patrolling mechs and troops on the surface, the industry of war marches on. Factories, refineries, and other machinery ravage the land, stripping it of materials to be sent to New Germany. Western Europe is primarily used to export food and oil to the Axis homeland, so you may encounter evidence of agriculture and oil fields scattered across the maps. Lastly, we have the few who remain living on the surface. In Western Europe, the chateaux of the rich still stand, housing aristocrats and Axis officials who open the gates to the pillaging of the region. Stick with us to find out how we apply these themes using art, sound, and narrative later in the video, and why it's like building with Lego. Do all these themes sound intense? Things are no less bleak or intimidating at the heart of the Axis Empire in New Germany. Now this is the final region of the game. This deep behind enemy lines, the landscape is severely changed. Previous industries of the land have been pushed underground to give way to civic building, Axis official residences, and architectural displays of power. The upper streets have become wide parade routes, built to celebrate Axis generals and dotted with public squares and statues in dedication to the Empire. Despite the carefully constructed glory of the city above, though, the truth of everyday life still lies beneath, where the industrial workforce lives in the slums under the surface. And below them, the ever-burning fire and smoke plumes of the factories cast their fumes into the air as they assemble the mechs which fuel Axis domination. Next, we'll talk about how we turn all of these storytelling ideas into reality. To reach this stage of the game, you will have already fought your way through the close quarters maps of the British Isles and the verticality of the mountains and forests in the Scandinavian maps. Starting with Western Europe, it's time to open the maps up with larger combat spaces. This will test your skills and force you to adapt your strategy, this time splitting up the squad to fight across larger areas and utilise terrain in new tactical ways. As with all previous regions, Western Europe and New Germany introduce a new collection of environmental mechanics and hazards. In Western Europe, for example, fences and hedgerows separate areas of open ground, giving you more strategic choices for blocking line of sight, bottlenecking, and flanking. This region also introduces the airship, a new threat, which attacks you on certain maps. The airship hazard briefly hovers over one side of the map, and then launches devastating paths of bombs along multiple rows of tiles, forcing your squad to react quickly to avoid damage. Then, in New Germany, the maps contain mechanical doors, which you can open by standing on specific tiles. Now, this allows you to take shortcuts through the level to ambush enemies, complete objectives quickly, or just reposition. However, the doors also pose a new challenge, since one of your units must remain on the opening tile to keep the door continuously activated, leaving them either split from the squad, or just otherwise more vulnerable. Axis mechs, on the other hand, no such problem, opening the doors automatically, ready to blindside you if you're caught unaware. But for a chance to even see New Germany, you must fight your way through the Western Europe boss, so let's see what you're up against. But before all of that, if you're enjoying this video, please consider following our social channels to stay up to date with Grit and Valor 1949. The process for creating a region starts with detailed research into the real-world history of World War II, and then combining our findings with fictional elements of Dieselpunk and alternate history. We make sure to involve our art, narrative, and audio teams in this process to create a cohesive set of themes and mechanics. Then it's time to lay out ideas for maps. This involves creating basic tile sets that cover the essential gameplay elements we need. These include all the things that a player needs to consider in the heat of battle, such as the floor, cover, ramps, high ground, and line of sight blockers. With all this laid out, we can start to prototype gameplay scenarios to make the region feel distinctive and ensure that each map provides players with fresh challenges. To streamline the process, we developed our own tools within the game engine. The idea was to create a kind of virtual Lego set that can be arranged in any combination we needed. This unlocked nearly unlimited possibilities in our creative process and makes editing and testing levels much easier. Once we have the layout of the map set, the art team get to work painting over it so we can get a feel for the atmosphere it creates. Then we can apply the themes we talked about earlier and explore how the map will look in different areas by adding specific pieces of environment or props. The Western Europe boss is a terrifying beast of a mech, specialising in wide area attacks, area denial and unit production. This boss can spawn remote explosive tankettes that chase down the command vehicle, focusing damage on your most important unit. Because of course, without your command vehicle, you just can't continue, so advanced planning is absolutely necessary to protect it from the onslaught. Now, while your command vehicle is threatened, the boss continues to attack with unpredictable, powerful mortar bombs that cover a wide area, requiring you to keep your eyes peeled on all areas of the battlefield. Now, if that wasn't enough, when the boss is pressured, it covers itself in an almost invincible armor plating and charges in power, requiring you to find a way to remove the armor plates and make the boss vulnerable again. While armoured, the boss also fires a powerful digging claw that erupts into vaporizing flames, doing massive damage in a wide area and setting his light. This method of area denial prevents mech traversal and requires you to be thoughtful in your positioning to mitigate damage and time loss. To win this monstrous fight, you must always manage the battlefield, keeping an eye on your command vehicle whilst avoiding enemy waves and boss attacks. Combine that with removing boss armor by engaging with map objectives and you've got one heck of a challenge. Only the best commanders will be able to breach through such a formidable foe. When creating our generals, we first look at the region they control and figure out both the powers at their command and the struggles they would be battling. This allows us to outline their key character traits and any important moments in their stories. The mechanics for the boss fight also serve as a starting point, ensuring that the final fight matches the personality of the general. Each Axis general typically follows a similar process. We start with research and rough exploration, where we throw ideas down, experiment with different silhouettes and shapes, which are then further refined based on the discussions and feedback from the team. Each Axis general also features some level of augmentation. General Harmsworth, for example, has a mechanical exoskeleton for his legs, and General Helena von Sturm has a bionic eye. So with General Klaus Albrecht, we wanted to take this a bit further and experimented with the addition of different mechanical limbs. We eventually settled down on a mechanical arm, as we wanted it to be a weapon. His posture might make him look intelligent and composed, while the mechanical arm makes him appear more aggressive and threatening than the previous generals. We also knew that the boss fight was going to be focused around a large, centralised boss with fuel pipes feeding into a central machine. So what we tried to do is incorporate elements of that design, with Albrecht's chunky backpack and pipes connecting to the mechanical arm. That about wraps things up for today. Thank you so much for listening to our developer log. Everything we talked about today leaves only the final boss, General Eisenhardt, who you confront at the mysterious peak of Machine Tower. The only way to find out more about that climactic moment is to reach it yourself. Good luck, Commander.